Welcome back to our Steven. It's storming right now and my internet seems to only want to cut out only when I'm trying to pay a bill on time. And today, from refusing to give a girlfriend a spare key to a strictly confidential secret that turns into a family blow-up, we get to decide if any of these people are jerks, all starting with a post titled, "Am I the jerk for not giving girlfriend a spare key?" Main post, February 7th, 2026. I, 27-year-old male, refused to give my girlfriend of 4 years, 24-year-old female, a key to my apartment. Not even my parents have a spare key. I have a key to my girlfriend's apartment that she gave me a year ago. I mostly use it to check on her dog during the afternoon because I get off work around that time. Her dog is fairly destructive when home alone, so he's crated. This is also only done Monday to Wednesday. Thursday and the weekend, my girlfriend doesn't work. Friday, her dog is at a daycare for limited socializing. He hasn't graduated to full-time, according to staff. My girlfriend brought this argument up randomly a few weeks ago. I explained that I wasn't comfortable giving anyone a key to my home. It has nothing to do with her. I even offered to give back her key. She declined because I'm looking after her dog and occasionally I do light housework. We didn't talk about this much at the time. I think it's because we were out in public. Yesterday, she asked me again why she couldn't have a key. I asked why she needed access to my home. She said giving her a spare is for emergencies that may occur. I said I could just give my parents a key for that, or even the super can handle it, as they have a key. This response set her off, and she's been ignoring me since she left. I don't understand. She's been in my apartment before. It's not like I'm hiding anything. I'm not comparing her to any of my exes. None of them ever had a key either. She doesn't have any of her personal items in my home. Am I the jerk for not giving her a key? Edit. My girlfriend has stated she prefers her place over mine, which is why she typically brings an overnight bag when she tries to stay at my place. She hates that instead of a mattress, I sleep on a Japanese floor mattress. I live a minimalist life as I'm hardly home. If I had a pet or plants, something that would require attention, then someone would have a spare key. So that's the end of the original post, and all I gotta say is I feel like it comes down to how serious OP actually is about their partner. Does OP see this as a serious relationship that has the chance to go, all the way? If so, what actually is the barrier against giving her a key? Now, if OP had only been with her for a few months or something, sure, you probably wouldn't want to give a girlfriend a key, but OP's been with her for 4 years. If you can't give your girlfriend of 4 years a key to your apartment, I feel like something has seriously gone wrong. In the comments, a user named Traditional Carib wrote, "Dude, unless you're willing to progress your relationship, I foresee a breakup in your near future." A user named Dakota replied to that saying, "Yeah. Dude just basically told her that their relationship isn't going anywhere." Another user named Photo Lilybug wrote, "This isn't about the key itself, this is about you sharing your life with her. People are saying you have a right to determine who has access to your space, and that is true, but read between the lines and listen to those of us telling you that this is a gauge for her as to where the relationship is." Another user named Divisive by Zero replied to that saying, "Relationship is at a dead end, and that's plain for all to see, us here and her as well." A user named Dex Sprinkle wrote, "She's upset because you just told her that the relationship is going nowhere after 4 years. IHQ replied to that saying, "And that the super is basically closer to him than she is." Shaking Cliches replied to that saying, "Hey now, he would give his parents a key before he gave her one too." A user named Throwaway Tada left a comment writing, "I think if you wanted friends with benefits, not a girlfriend, you should have told her 3.5 years ago." It's very normal for partners to give each other a key and is more about ease and trust than anything else. At this point, a lot of couples would be looking at moving in together, and having a key is usually the first step. I imagine her frustration is less about the key or wanting access to your space, and more about the lack of trust, intimacy, and relationship progression it signifies. Insert username thanks replied, "Looking at moving in together? After 4 years, a lot of couples would have already moved in together. 4 years is a long time to wait before even the live together stage." And finally, a user named Pops McGee wrote, "I don't say this lightly. I know Reddit loves to jump to breakup. She should leave you. You're wasting her time." The OP then went on to post the final update after 5 hours on the same day, February 7th, 2026. Update: Am I the jerk for not giving my girlfriend a spare key? Issue solved. I didn't realize that her feelings were upset because I was thinking practical where she was struggling to ask the questions about our future. I went over to her place with chocolates and a cute keychain. I apologized for not understanding that it wasn't really about a key. I told her that she doesn't need a key to know that I'm committed to her. I also explained that she doesn't need a key to a place that doesn't feel like a home. I gave her the keychain so when my lease is up and we look for a home together, she'll have a place for a key. Let me know in the comments if you feel this is an adequate solution. I think the actual comments on this post are going to get into it, starting with a user named The Real Tinfoil who wrote, "She complained about not having a key to your place as a symptom of her concerns about her status in your mind, and your solution was to give her a keychain with no key on it?" This was like someone telling you that they were starving and your answer was giving them an empty plate with a promise that there might be food on it next time. You're the jerk, soon to be a lonely jerk. Another user named Coffee Noob wrote, "Issue solved? OP gave her an empty keychain." Classic Karmix replied to that saying, "I didn't read the update and I thought you were making a joke." Holy crap, I am impressed by how he managed to go from gaslighting and deflecting to somehow still topping that with the biggest slap in the face. He still won't give her a key because he's looking out for her. She doesn't need it after all. She can just take the keychain for now. A user named Only Here to Argue Bro wrote, "I gave her the keychain so when my lease is up and we look for a home together, she'll have a place for a key." Bruh, this is the worst update of all time. What a prick move. Wow, I'd be surprised if she's still around when your lease is up at this rate. Literally denying what she's upset still, and then giving her an empty keychain? This has to be rage bait. And on the whole saga, a user named Inscrutable Jane wrote, "Unfortunately, the OP deleted everything before he could give us the 'I can't believe she broke up with me over a keychain' update." A user named Nursery School Teacher replied, "He probably deleted because she broke up with him." And speaking of breaking up, please don't do it. Please stick around and hit those like and subscribe buttons down below to support the channel. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents I'll do what I want when it comes to putting my name on my boyfriend's house? Original post, November 17th, 2024. For context, I'm from an Indian family. I, 24-year-old female, live with my boyfriend, 27-year-old male of 1.5 years, and he has a mortgage. I've lived with him since May, 6 months. He's well-made, earns buckets more than me, and never asks me for money or to pay for things if he can help it. The deeds and the mortgage are in his name since he bought it, and I'm currently jobless as I got made redundant from the job I had, so I can't help out as much. I still pay 30 to 40% of the bills though, since it's only fair. I'm doing random jobs I can find. Pet sitting, selling unvinted, and temp admin to keep my account from going empty because my entire savings of $45,000 since I was 17 years old are with my dad. He bought the house next door to put on rent, and the property is going in his will for me and my 2 siblings. I thought it was a good future investment since I get my $45,000 back with interest, which would put me at $50,000 and 1 1/3 houses to inherit since our family home goes solely to me and the new house will be split between me and my 2 siblings. My dad never steered me wrong before, so I did it. Being jobless though is getting difficult. I've had arguments about my money with my mom, barely me getting $5,000 of it, which she said was her money she's given me. My spending habits, she forces me to show her my bank account. Bills, which she says I shouldn't be paying because it's not my house. Literally any money that leaves my account, since I left when the $45,000 was taken when I was with my parents and had a job. She said things like, "I don't want you to have too much money, then spend it all. I don't know if I want to give your money back because of him. I gave you my $5,000 and now I'm struggling too," and similar things, even though they owe me that dang money in the first place. The recent argument was about my name being on the title deeds of my boyfriend's house. We thought it would be best to wait until marriage, but recently, my boyfriend suggested when I get my $45,000 back, I could put some money in the house and get my name on the deed and the mortgage, since I've been stressed and my mom is high-strung about it. My parents both seem to think he's using me and manipulating me to try and lower his mortgage now, but I've worked in remortgaging as a caseworker. This is normal, isn't it? They hate that we bought 2 cats. They think we're irresponsible. They don't like that I pay for the cat's food and he pays for the litter. They hate any money I spend here. My mom says it was all a mistake and I would never be spending so much if I was still at home. Now they're saying I should only put my name on the house, not the mortgage. That I shouldn't have to pay him or be on the mortgage. I think that's wrong. But now I'm starting to doubt myself. So that's the end of the original post. I would just say I clearly think the parents are the ones in the wrong here for trying to make OP doubt themselves, because being put on the deed to the house is a big deal. You all of a sudden become, 1/2 owner of that house. So yeah, if that happens, I would hope that OP would take up some kind of mantle on the mortgage. As long as it's not like a lease or a rent situation, OP is basically signing on to acquire half of that house. In the comments, the OP, in response to that they should be looking into getting a good job or she won't be in this mess, the OP wrote, "I literally said I got made redundant and I did have a job when everything went down. I also said I'm taking temp jobs everywhere since I've had no luck with permanent ones. I'm trying." One commenter wrote, "I don't see that your parents made one right call or comment in your whole text. And stop showing your bank statements. But I get that it's tricky. You want to accommodate them because they keep that money hanging in the air, and so they control you indirectly as a minimum, while they try to control you in practice as well." The OP responded, "Exactly, thank you. I'm so afraid anything I say or do that they don't like will just make my money that they have go poof since they started talking like this. There's always court and whatever to get it back if they do keep it. But no one ever wants to go to court or be cut off from family and all that drama." Another commenter wrote, "I'm assuming you live outside of the US. This post is kind of all over the map. You invested your savings, either voluntarily or non-voluntarily, in a rental property your father bought. Is the money actually invested in the property? Is your name also on the deed? Or did you loan your dad the money with his and your mom being on the deed? Did your siblings who will inherit equal share also invest? It sounds like you have a very sweet deal with your boyfriend. You're getting free housing and only paying 1/3 of the other living expenses. Now your greedy parents are trying to get your name on a deed to a home that you haven't contributed to with a man you've only been living with for 6 months. Seriously, that is not reasonable to ask. What your boyfriend is asking is more reasonable, though still not advisable given that you're both not married or even engaged. You buy into co-owning the house and get your name on both the mortgage and the deed and start contributing to the monthly payments. Everybody sucks here except your boyfriend." The OP replied, "Yep, I live in the UK. The coerced money was labeled as a gift with the solicitors and is under my mom and dad's name, which ticked me off when I found out. My siblings are 17 and 14, so there's no investment from them. Genuinely, I have a great setup with my boyfriend, and it's bugging me so much that they want me to just never trust him, whether we're married or not. Thank you for the advice about the deeds and mortgage though, that's super helpful." Another commenter wrote, "Curious, why will your siblings not get a share of the family home? Is the $45,000 you mentioned in pounds or dollars? That's an impressive amount for a 17-year-old either way. If the $45,000 was deemed a gift, then you really aren't going to be getting it back from your parents. Honestly, your parents don't sound like very honest or moral people, so I would not be taking any financial advice from them." The OP replied, "I was an only child at the time my parents wrote their wills, so I was the only one mentioned to inherit it. I asked them if they were going to change it for my siblings too, but they said it was too much hassle, apparently. The $45,000 is in pounds, and it took from the age of 17 to 23 to save all of it because I started as an apprentice, so I didn't get much. I think you might be right. I don't want to get legal about things, if I even can with the circumstances, but I might have to. One commenter replied, "It's not much of a hassle to change a will, and given your parents' morals via stealing your savings, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they'd already changed the will or will change it if you don't obey their orders." A distant cousin paid her uncle's property taxes and insurance and a few major home repairs, since the $1 million plus property would be hers someday in his will, except he was not being truthful and had changed the will years before, and when he passed on, the property was divided between multiple nieces, nephews, and great-nieces and nephews. Her share of the property was less than the amount she had given toward the taxes and improvements. The OP replied, "I wouldn't even be surprised at this point, to be honest. I want to believe their obsession with pleasing the family will keep them from ratting me out, because I know for a fact that my gran would tear my mum a new one." And finally, one commenter wrote, "Everybody sucks here. Your parents are super controlling and don't want to pay back what they borrowed from you, but you've only been with your boyfriend for a year and a half and about to make a very ill-advised financial decision. You're being glamored by what he earns. If he makes so much more than you, why would he stipulate using some of your $45,000 to put into the house before he's willing to put your name on the deed and before marriage? This is not a normal thing, and most likely what will happen is he'll dump you soon after you spend your money in the expectation that it would be partly your house. If you have no signed agreements or anything, he can basically get your money, kick you to the curb, and keep some ownership of his house. Your parents are jerks, but they're also not wrong in that you agreeing to this plan with your boyfriend is a very bad idea." The OP responded to that saying, "We talked a little bit about it and agreed we would get a deed of trust aside the deed and mortgage. Since I used to approve them when I was working remortgage, so I know exactly how to write them and put the terms in. His deposit on the house I wouldn't be able to touch, but anything after that would be split 50-50 and belong to me as well in the events of the house being sold. If we broke up, I would get a stake of the bills I paid and interest on top for the time I was there." The OP then went on to post an update on March 2nd, 2026, over 15 months later. Update: Am I the jerk for telling my parents I'll do what I want when it comes to putting my name on my boyfriend's house? Hi all, I wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone who commented on my original post and opened my eyes. To cut to the chase, my boyfriend is now my fiancé and we're planning for our wedding in the next 2 or 3 years. Money. I won't be putting my name on his deed until after we are married. You were all right. I think I was just angry at my parents for tricking me, so I wanted to do something reckless. To clarify some misunderstanding in the original post, I'm from an Indian family and was raised to obey every command that comes from my parents, which is what made it difficult for me to stand up to them. I suffer with anxiety and depression, which I'm now medicated for and doing well, which is what made it even harder. I was sheltered, coddled, and didn't know how the world worked because I had no understanding of selfish and greedy people. The 45,000 pounds that I lost was taken by my dad to buy the house next door to him and then rented out to my aunt who was being evicted from her flat at the time. I was told my name would be on the paperwork, but it wasn't. I have since grown a backbone, and my fiancé has helped me demand some legal paperwork and contract of agreement for my dad to pay me back every penny with interest. I've already received a good chunk, and it's going well. It's strained, but I think I have a bit more of my parents' respect now as well, since I've put my foot down about my money. I should have it all back before our wedding, which is something I wrote into the contract, since the money can be used in the wedding instead. Things are going well. I've grown from this and I'm moving forward with a better understanding. In short, put your foot down, don't let people walk all over you, and don't make decisions in anger. Thank you all for opening my eyes. So, considering that's the final update, I would say a pretty positive outcome. I mean, look at that. A Reddit post full of Redditor commenters doesn't actually tear down this relationship. The thing that matters the most, though, is the parents actually honoring that deal and willing to repay OP. I'm willing to bet most people wouldn't have assumed or gave them enough credit that they would actually do such a thing. I mean, they took 45,000 British pounds from OP and then just didn't give OP anything they promised they would give them in return. In the comments on the whole saga, a user named A Total Mess wrote, "The 15 months between the posts makes me feel really good for her. that she didn't rush into marriage and she's grown to stand up for herself too. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that her strictly confidential information had already been leaked by her own mother, which caused a massive family fight? Original post, March 1st, 2026. My sister-in-law holds a political office in the municipality where we live. During a conversation, she confided in me a strictly confidential piece of information, on the condition that I would not tell anyone, not even my partner, her brother. However, she also told me that she had shared it with her mother, my mother-in-law, who was likewise not supposed to pass it on. So for 4 days, the only people who were meant to keep this to themselves were my mother-in-law and me. On the 4th day, today, there was going to be a meeting with the people concerned, and the information would be shared with them anyway. After that, it could also be published within the family. So I promised her I would keep the information to myself, which I did. Edit to add, it was a secret connection to her political position, but not top secret, a strategic one that needed to be confidential for a couple of days. Another edit / small clarification. The commenter Houndstooth Reader gave a good example of such a secret that I would like to quote. It's her secret though. Think, for example, I'm announcing my retirement Tuesday, or I'm announcing my bid for county council this week. The sister-in-law's own news, but not to be shared until a certain date, after the involved parties all know. It makes sense that she might want to talk to close friends or family about her own decisions, but doesn't want word to get around too soon. So this isn't about strictly confidential information whose disclosure would risk her position or even cause her to break an oath or the law, but it does have an impact on the community and the political environment. The day after our conversation, my partner, her brother, approached me and told me he had a secret piece of information to share. At first, I didn't react. He kept talking, and it quickly became clear that he was referring to that exact secret. I interrupted him and said that I was already aware of it without specifying what it was about. I then asked him where he had gotten the information, and he said that his mother had told him. A few hours later, my sister-in-law came to visit, and I let her know that, unfortunately, her mother had passed the secret on. She confronted her, and it led to a huge argument. After that, my partner confronted me and blamed me for the entire situation. He says the family is now in conflict because I didn't keep my mouth shut and told my sister-in-law that the secret had been shared. It's also important to mention that during the confrontation, my mother-in-law lied. First, she claimed she hadn't told him anything. Then, she had said that her husband, their father, who, by the way, was not supposed to know either, had probably told him. Then, she accused me of having told him. Now, I'm in a fight with my partner because he gave me confidential information that I wasn't supposed to pass on, but I informed the original source of that confidential information that it had been shared. So basically, my partner says that I'm the jerk because he told me the secret and I ran to sister-in-law, the source. Am I the jerk for feeling responsible to let my sister-in-law know that the information had been spread, which ultimately caused a huge fight? I would prefer not to have a discussion about whether it was responsible of my sister-in-law to put me in this situation and tell me the secret. She doesn't have many people to talk to, and she knows she can trust me. Sometimes you have to talk to someone and share information in order to relieve pressure. So that's the end of the original post, and I guess if it would vary, it would come down to your own interpretation of what the right thing to do here is. I've said similar things in the past, but usually my go-to in this situation is, if I was the sister-in-law, I would want to know. And I've usually said that in a situation where, for example, a friend of a couple finds out that one of those people in that relationship cheated on the other. Do they, as just a friend of the couple, tell the other person what they know? Personally, I don't think OP's the jerk because if I was the sister-in-law, I would want to know, especially so I know I'm not telling that mother-in-law a thing again. In the comments, one person wrote, "They're all making this about you to deflect their shenanigans. Does the husband think you really didn't know and when he told you, it was you who spread the news? If that was the case, they're ganging up on you because they suck. OP, you're the only character in this whole farce who had integrity. Bet when mother-in-law told her sonny boy she swore him to secrecy and he ran home to shout it to you, they are the jerks. The OP replied, he thought I didn't know. He's mad because I broke his trust by letting the source know her secret was shared by mother-in-law. Another commenter wrote, how does the sister-in-law feel? Does she appreciate that you held the secret? Or is she being silent? I feel like she should be defending you as the only person who did not technically blab. You told her that her secret had been blabbed. Since you already knew about the secret, that should have been a safe thing to do. The OP replied, no, we had a long talk and she believes me. She realized her mom was lying when she changed her story the second time. She couldn't defend me to her brother because they haven't talked yet. The only person he's argued with so far is me. The OP responded to a comment about her mother-in-law forcing her to tell sister-in-law without consulting with her partner, writing, well, indirectly she did. She wasn't supposed to tell anyone. She told father-in-law and son, instantly betraying her daughter. Her actions put me into the crossfire, and I had to make a decision. I based my next step on morality, the loyalty on the promise I made, not on loyalty to my partner, who first wasn't supposed to know, and second, also decided to share the secret info. I was put in a difficult spot, and I would have lost anyway, even if I decided differently. Another commenter wrote, I think it's pretty obvious that the family's in conflict because his mother couldn't keep her mouth shut and you caught her and dobbed her in. If she kept sister-in-law's confidence in the first place, then there wouldn't be anything to have a conflict about. The OP simply replied, that's what I'm thinking. Another commenter asked, sit with that for a while. Your partner is siding with his mother against you. Is this a one-time thing or a pattern? The OP replied, a pattern, I'm afraid. Another commenter wrote, is your husband aware that he is part of the problem? The sister-in-law was the first wrong person. She wouldn't have said to anyone. Then she told her mother, who told her husband, and her son, who told you. There's too much gossip in this family. Your husband is being too much of a mama's boy from my perspective. He'd rather blame you than see his mom as the real wrong one. The OP replied, this is exactly the way I see it, actually. The OP responded to a comment regarding the possibility of her partner being conditioned his entire life to keep mother-in-law happy. Sister-in-law is likely to be fed up with mother-in-law not being able to keep information to herself. The OP wrote, well, you're hitting the nail right on the head. Afterwards, she let me know it was kind of a test to see if she could trust her, and now mother-in-law says everybody is making a mountain out of a molehill. How long had OP been with her partner? I'm 13 years in, it's hard. The OP then went on to post an update March 2nd, 2026, the same post, but the next day. Update, business as usual, as if nothing had happened between my partner and me. Smiles, small talk, good mood. That's how conflict resolution always works here. Nothing gets resolved, it gets swept under the rug and ignored, until it's thrown back in your face in the next tense situation. So anyone who thinks I didn't take my loyalty toward him seriously and that my poor hubby might be deeply hurt isn't entirely right. It's difficult to include all the background details in an Am I the Jerk post, but I will say this much. His loyalty towards me has always come last, whether it was about keeping promises, keeping secrets, or being faithful. I'm not saying this was an act of revenge for his behavior, but it certainly influenced my decision on a subconscious level. Or rather, it's probably the reason why my promise to his sister mattered to me, while I didn't take my lack of loyalty toward him into consideration. Yesterday, after 2 missed calls from my mother-in-law, I sent her a message telling her that I would not be discussing the situation any further. I think that would only create more room for arguments, and I simply don't have the energy for it. For years, I've suspected that I'm dealing with narcissists, my mother-in-law and her son. Her sister, on the other hand, takes after her father. She's rather quiet, trustworthy, and handles things calmly. We'll see how this unfolds. However, my sister-in-law has already let me know that she intends to draw her own consequences and distance herself from the family in the near future. Guess who will be held responsible for that? So, with that final update, I just have to ask, is OP happy there? Does the OP need an SOS? I mean, does it not sound like the OP is pretty darn resentful? How is, after all that, and with that resentment in the very last line, guess we'll see who's held responsible, how do they lay down at night and comfortably sleep knowing they're gonna wake up to that relationship tomorrow? On the whole saga, a user named Temporary Usefulness wrote, "Why the freak is she still staying with this man?" Another user named Now With Extra Salt replied, "Sunk cost fallacy. She's been with him for 13 years. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear some more crazy Am I the Jerk Here stories, why not check out that video on the left of the screen right now? Or if you got a little sunk cost fallacy of your own, you could check out my latest video right there on the right of the screen. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.